Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Live Boldly with Sara. Today we're going to talk about how to move through the fog in life. Now, this is different than being stuck. When we're stuck, we aren't moving forward at all. But I know for many of us, we are moving forward. We're just not sure if the direction that we're going is actually the right direction. And sometimes we don't know that because we have so much fog around us. We can't see where we are actually going. We know of our goals, we know where we want to be. We're just not sure of, am I going the right way? So a couple nights ago, I was doing a speaking engagement with 60 moms. And one of the moms afterwards came up to me and she asked, hey, you seem to have it together in terms of moving forward and knowing where you're going. I'm not sure if I'm even going in the right direction. Can you help me to understand how you knew that you were going in the right direction and how you continue to navigate forward, maybe even if you were in the own fog in your life? And that led me to a story that happened, something that happened to me in, I believe it was like 2015, 16. I'm not even sure of the year. It was after I had gone through everything within my marriage. So 2013 is when my life imploded, literally like imploded. And I had no idea what direction I was going. How was I going to get out of my marriage? How was I going to start a career? How was I going to find happiness again? How was I going to find a relationship? I literally felt like I was in my own fog. Now, many of you, I'm sure, can relate to this. Again, I was moving forward. I just didn't know what direction I was exactly going in. And then it happened a couple years after after I experienced everything in 2013. I had taken my paddleboard and I had gone onto the ocean. And during that time when I was paddling, it was really to work through the anger to somatically heal. In other words, trauma sits in your cells. And so the movement of me with paddling was also clearing the trauma out of my cells. And I would come off of the water feeling so much better. I knew that I had it within me to get through anything. Okay. So I'm paddling out. It's pushing about 4 miles out onto the ocean. And what I didn't realize is that as I was going out further away from land, the fog bank was coming in closer to land. You can imagine, right? Now, as I'm paddling, if for those of you that don't know, I paddle on a race board. And so when I'm paddling, a lot of times my head is looking down at the water and I'm like focused on my stroke and on my technique. And I'm not always looking up. That's why sometimes you've heard me talk about all of a sudden whales coming out of nowhere or dolphins coming out of nowhere. And in this particular instance, I was paddling straight out and all of a sudden I looked up, I'm about 4 miles offshore, and this fog bank is literally surrounding me. It just moves in super fast. And I realized at that moment that I didn't know what direction to go. It was scary, by the way. Now, I did have my phone on me. I always carry my phone. I always know that I can make a phone call if I need to. I'm friends with the people in the harbor. So, with the lifeguards, if I need something, I have access to somebody to come and help me. In that particular instance, though, here's what shifted. Though I was really afraid, I had a moment of fear come in. I didn't let the fear take over. And this is really important to listen to when it comes to working through and navigating through your own fog in life. I didn't let the fear take over. What I did is I went back to what I knew to be true. I responded to the fog instead of reacted to the fog. Now, that fog can be anything in your life. It can be a career move, a relationship move. It can be a divorce, whatever it is. So in that moment, what I went back to, and this might sound a little bit corny, but use it anyhow. I went back to what I knew to be true, which was I've been on this ocean so many times when there hasn't been fog. So because of that, I knew that I had it within me to find a way to get back to the shore if there was fog, right? Because I've done this when there isn't. So I know that I can do it when there is. What I did is I accessed this part of me that would help me to navigate through the fog in a way that would work. And what I did is I went back to Pocahontas. There's your corny. I went back to, if I was Pocahontas, because if you've watched that movie, Pocahontas, she navigates her way on the ocean or on the water when she's unsure of which direction to go. Do you remember that part of the movie? I loved that movie. My boys loved that movie. I watched it so many times with them. And in that movie, she's not sure, which direction do I go? Where do I go? This is no different than all of us. How many times have we sat there in fog or sat there, when it comes to, I don't know, if fork in the road, right? A fork in the river. I don't know which way to go. Well, what I did is I literally centered myself and went, all right, Sara, you're 4 miles offshore. You're standing on your paddleboard. You've got fog bank all around you. You can't see more than 10 feet in front of you. And I knew that I could safely get myself to shore because I wasn't reacting, I was responding, and I was going back to, what are the things that I know to be true? You've been here before when it's been clear, right? And I knew that if I listened to the ocean, in other words, I looked at the current, I looked at the swells, I looked at the waves, I looked at the wind, right? I just stood there and I went, all right, this is what Pocahontas would do. She would look at her surroundings and then she would access what she knows to be true within herself, which is, hey, Sara, you know which direction to go. Use your intuition. You know this because you've been out here before. And so that's what I did. I listened to my intuition. I turned my board around. I started facing the shoreline because that's exactly where I had just come from. I listened to the wind, the current, the swells, the waves, and I started paddling. And I paddled in and I paddled in and I kept paddling. And then, okay, here's where the corny part too is going to come in. I literally asked for help. How many of us don't ask for help when we're in fog? I asked for help. And what I asked for was, well, I asked for a pot of dolphins. I started talking out loud because it wasn't just an internal conversation that I wanted to have. It was an external conversation with my surroundings. Now, obviously, there aren't any people there, right? I'm out there alone. That said, I knew that nature was my guide. And so I said, hey, I could really use a pot of dolphins right now to help me to get in, to help guide me. So I know that I'm going in the right direction. If there are some dolphins out here, I'd love to have you with me. And I kid you not very far outside of the harbor, maybe a mile, I think, mile and a half. All of a sudden, this pot of dolphins, it came out of nowhere and it started circling. This amazing pot of dolphins. And I started a conversation with them. I started talking to them. And I'm like, hey guys, oh my God, it's so great to see you. Could you please help me get to shore so I know I'm going in the right direction? And lo and behold, I listened to the dolphins. I let them guide me, right? And how many times do we need others to help guide us through the fog? I had them guide me. I listened to them. I literally had this conversation. And lo and behold, I landed right in the mouth of the harbor. I remember when I was paddling up and I saw the harbor and I heard the bell because there's a big buoy right in the front of the harbor with the bell to guide people. And I could also hear the foghorn. And as I got closer and closer and closer, all of a sudden I looked up and I'm like, oh my God, there's the harbor. What? Wow. This is amazing. Like that belief in self, that belief in the knowing, in my intuition, in listening to my surroundings and being able to literally ask for guidance, that helped me get back to the beginning. And this is what it did for me at that moment. I remember I paddled into the harbor and I was standing, I always drop my board off of right off of a pier. And I went and I stood on the pier and I grabbed my board. And as I was pulling it up to the pier to put on top of my head and carry it back to my car, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is proof that I'm going to find my home again. Because for so long and I'm not talking like my physical home, I'm talking coming back home to who I am. Because I had lived through so many difficulties, and along the way, you start to question, who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose? What makes me happy? What's my passion? Am I going to find a relationship again? Am I going to like in all of this, right? Like, who was I? Because the day that everything happened to me back in 2013, I was just giving this in the speaking engagement that I gave a couple nights ago. I was explaining to them the day that that happened, that woman of who I was, a portion of her died because literally she died. She's no longer that woman. And I knew that the day that that happened, I knew that I was never going to be that person, that woman, that mom, that partner, any of it, that daughter, that friend that I once was, because I was changed so dramatically through the trauma and the difficulty that I had lived through. And so I knew that, right? And so when I was pulling my board onto the pier, and when I was putting it up on my head, and I was thinking to myself, Sara, you're coming home to who you are. You know that you can do this because you've done it before, and you literally just went through fog, 4 miles of fog to get to the harbor, and you did it. And so it's about coming home to that personal leader within yourself. It's about that self-belief. It's about having the courage to take that next step forward that only leads to your confidence to take that next step. And the more that we step out of our comfort zone and we can overcome and do the things that we've never done before, the more that we become the person that we were intended all along. That's what it is to come home. So when I was at the speaking engagement a couple nights ago, and what I usually do is I speak for so long, and then I love the Q&A afterwards. I love having the question and answer time because so often people have questions. And I'm going to tell you something. If you are in a Q&A, if you are in the audience of one, ask the questions, please, because if you have the question, somebody else probably does too. And why wouldn't you ask the question to the person that also can help you with the answer, right? So afterwards, though, I had this woman come up to me and she said, hey, Sara, like, I'm not sure what direction to go. I'm in my own fog. Like, I don't know if I should quit my career. I want to. I know that I'm missing out on so much happiness in life. How did you do that? Like, how did you quit everything that you once knew? Well, first of all, it's not like I wanted to. It's this particular situation. It happened for me, right? And notice I said not to me. It happened for me in order to find this version of myself and this career that I never otherwise would have had. What I told her, though, I gave her two specific things, two things to really focus on. And I would love for you to do the same thing. So grab your journals, and I would love for you to do the same thing. When she was asking me, what do I do? I'm in the fog. Do I stay on my career, or do I leave my career, which is, she's very successful at it, and do I take the leap, believe in myself, and try something that I've never done before because I don't want to regret my life? And this is one thing that I always say, and this is what I said in the speaking engagement. I said, I do this work because I don't want myself. I don't want you, the listener. I don't want your family, your friends, all of the people that you can pass this information on to. I don't want you to wake up the same day that you are dying, wishing that you had lived. How's that one? I don't want you to wake up the same day that you are dying, wishing that you had lived. And that's what I said to her. And she said, well, how did you do this? How did you do this? And I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Number one, pay attention to your surroundings. And I talk about this a lot, just like I did when I was in the fog out on the ocean. You are the Pocahontas, the leader, the guide. You are the captain of your own life. You write your story. Don't let one chapter of your story define your entire story. If that chapter isn't working for you, close the book and start something new. Start a new chapter, right? And what I said to her was, though, pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to the people around you, your friend group, your support group, those family members that are putting, perhaps pressure or whatever it is on you. Pay attention to your physical surroundings. Now, when I moved across the street into my 800 square foot house with my two younger sons, we gave up living in 4,200 square feet. I also did that because that wasn't a home for us. We needed to start again and build to create a home that worked for all of us. That's why upon my divorce, I got rid of the house because I wanted a home. And so, do you really need all those physical things in your life? What are you carrying that is heavy on you, heavy on your heart, heavy on your back, heavy on your soul? Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to everything, because those are all signs for where the direction is that you ultimately want to be going and how to get there, right? Just like when I was on the water in the fog, I paid attention to my surroundings. Also, ask for help in your surroundings, right? Ask for guidance. It's really important for us to be able to speak up on our own behalf and say, hey, like, I'm not really sure of this. I don't know if I want to be going this direction. And could you give me some input, some help, some guidance? Go to those people that have been there, and I promise they will lend a hand and take you along with them. I promise you, those people that are right in your life will do that. And then the second thing is, pay attention to your surroundings. I already said that. And also those people around you, and ask for help. And the second thing is, know your values. This is so key to everything, because so often we end up going in the wrong direction because we're listening to society and what they're telling us versus what our internal self and our values are actually telling us. Our values are the things that are most important to us. So, for example, for me, it's trust, honesty, integrity, relationships, love, intimacy. That's a very big one for me. I don't want a relationship that's just like face value. Like, I want the depth. I don't know about all you, but like, I've had enough of surface level relationships in my life. I will take 3 deep, amazing relationships over 15 that are surface level any day. That's just me, though, because I love to learn and grow with others. And so that's one big one for me. When I started really distilling what are the values, what are the important things in my life, and I started letting those be my guide and my true north, that's when I truly came home to who I am. It's when you're not sure of who you are that you would get lost in the fog. So you have to continuously come back to, who am I? What are my values? And how do I choose to live? Because I don't want to wake up the same day that I am dying wishing that I had lived, wishing that I had tried the things that were literally tugging at my heart and my soul. And so when I sat with that woman, when I sat with the woman from that, after that speaking engagement, and I talked to her about that, she was like, I've never done values work. I don't even know what that is. So I said to her, okay, well, go get the book, because it's in my book. Walk through this, harness the healing power of nature, and travel the road to forgiveness. There is a whole section on who am I, and it really distills down into my values and what's important. So you can get it on Amazon, you can get it at Barnes and Noble, there is a shameless plug for you because I wrote that book for you. So go grab it, go read it, go do it, go take it with you. And I promise you, it will help for you to distill your way forward when you are in the fog as well. While you're at it, can I give you another shameless plug? Please do me a favor. Go into Amazon, rate, review, and leave a comment, because that helps to get this book out there into the world. So with that, I really, really, really want all of you to remember, you will only regret the success that you could otherwise have the only way to not regret, let me put it this way, the only way to not regret the success that you could otherwise have is by looking at your problems. And sometimes those problems are within the fog, and really working through them today. I hope this helps you. Please push it out to those people that you care about, because I care about you. And aren't we all ripples for one another? I do believe so. Go into the podcast, please, and subscribe, rate, review, share this in your social media posts, tag me, I will reshare. And even more important, well, of course, this is and importantly, if there is something that you want me to talk about, send me an email, Sara@sarahschultencrayons.com, and I will gladly do that for all of us. It's important for us to be really focusing on to be having the conversations of the things that are most important right now. And if there's something on your heart, please lift it up to me, and I will gladly have the conversation for all of us along the way. I love you. I am so happy that you are here, and I hope that this helps all of you. Drop into the comments and let me know what has really been an instrumental part within this podcast episode for all of you. If you're in the fog, keep moving forward. I promise you that there is so much light, so much amazing life, so much growth on the other side. Thank you. I love you. And thank you for being here.